Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bloody Good Horror. My name is Eric, and I will be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Nightmare Alley. This is my
I was worried you forgot to say how to say horror there for a second.
horror. This is my dramatic noir reading
Yeah.
style. John.
I see.
I'm not gonna pretend like I knew this was a remake before yesterday. Other horror people out there, John, they're gonna pretend. Don't let them fool you. People did not know about this movie.
I mean, Ariel and I did, but
Well, fine.
because girls rule, boys rule. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Joining
I
me,
also didn't know Eric, so
joining me tonight, first up from Richmond, Virginia. Please welcome Caitlin.
Hello.
Next up from the Great Northwest. What do they call it? PNW? The PNW?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Please welcome back as zombie girl Ariel back to the show.
Hi.
Last week we had Rachel. This week we have Ariel. Very exciting to get you guys back on the show.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me.
And last up tonight from Manhattan, New York City, the wing beneath my wings. Please welcome John Schnars to the show.
hello, Eric.
I haven't broken that one out in a while.
No.
Somebody was tweeting me today some new Sebastian Stan thing where he looks incredibly schnarzy.
It's not. Have you watched Pam and Tommy?
It's not
He
that.
doesn't look schnarzy in that.
It's not that.
He looks Tommy-esque.
Yes.
I would say.
He's
I mean, by association, you could get to Tommy-esque.
It's true. You just got to work a little harder.
Yeah.
That's right, John.
Halloween
Tattoos on
2022.
Stop being so lazy.
Hours of tattoo makeup work.
Yeah.
Well, it's either that, John, or watch Nightmare Alley for hours. But let's do it. Let's take a quick break here and discuss Nightmare Alley.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Come to prime time. Main feature.
John,
Eric.
we were just talking about haircuts pre-show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were saying that they're trying to push you into like some like salon type stuff. I wanted to talk about that a little bit more.
I mean,
What does that
You know,
mean?
what's that?
Like they're trying to get you to do some like treatments or get like a blowout. Like what are we talking?
No,
here?
no, no. Blowout. What is a blowout? That is actually a question.
It's like
I
a
have.
real
Before
thorough.
the BGH meetup in Chicago, Mary and I got blowouts because for the occasion.
It's like a
Yeah,
real
yeah.
thorough blow drying that makes you look real
Well, like,
good.
I like know that that's what it is, but like, is it like better than blow drying your own hair? I mean, presumably.
yeah,
they do,
if
but
they know
yeah,
what the-
that's
yeah.
okay.
They do like a fancy job. They'll style it a little bit. Except for the venue in Chicago was like 50,000 degrees, and
Oh
I'm
my God,
naturally a sweaty
yes.
person, so like immediately sweat through my blowout at the meetup.
Oh, no.
Maybe I should try one. What do you think? Is
Dude.
that like?
You
You
absolutely
should do it right before a show so we can see it.
All right. Okay. There we go. There's an option for the future. Blowouts. Yeah, Eric. No, it's like I basically like my old barber. My wife has kind of like steered me. She's like, you gotta see someone who like knows how to handle a lot of hair. You know, like it's not just an old like.
Yeah, go to a salon. Like
Nip
you
and
gotta.
tuck over
You're not
here.
going to a barber anymore. You got to go find yourself a salon.
They still aren't charging me like what I think my wife pays to get her haircut, which is just an astronomical number that I'm like why? Like I don't know. I'll cut your hair, but
When you go in, are they just like?
Romance.
When you go in, are they just like in awe of you?
No. Come on.
No,
This
Eric,
is
you know
New
what
York.
happens?
It's like
It's the TikTok trend. They're like, major bag alert, major bag alert. He's got
I
that nice
don't know
long
what
hair.
that is.
I know you don't, buddy.
Man, Schnars. I don't know. I have so many questions. John, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word, dictaphone. That's Ctaphone. So this is actually a trademark. So this is one of these situations where I guess there was a company that was producing dictaphones. I thought it was like a word because it has become just like a generalized noun, but this is like a Kleenex situation. A small cassette recorder used to record speech for transcription at a later time. This is also an interesting definition because they weren't always small. The word first shows up in 1900 and hits its peak 1941-42 period, roughly equivalent to the setting of this film.
I'm obsessed. So the dictaphone is what Kate Blanchett has in her 1940s noir psychiatrist's office, right? Where she's that's how she's recording the sessions. I'm obsessed with that thing. Like I want one now.
Yeah, it was wild.
It was
That's
very
what John's house looks like that
yeah.
in Manhattan.
because I'm a millennial and my only references are video games. It was like it's like BioShock. It's so cool. In fact, in that game, that's how you find all of the like old, you're going around, you're finding like journal entries. They're all on those like little things.
The reel-to-reels.
Yeah. No, on a dictaphone.
But are they not like? Are they taped?
No, you find like little dictaphone things like scattered throughout the game, and you play them.
Well, this is a big old dictaphone that she had. And yeah, it comes to us, Eric. It comes to us from the Latin dictare, which means to dictate, I think, and then phone. Yeah,
love it.
You guys can guess
What's that mean?
Tell me about this movie, John. Who is phone? Is what Caitlin's asking.
Who is phone? This movie nominated for 4 Oscars in the year of our Lord 2022. Ooh, Del Toro movies, Shape of Water and Crimson Peak. We've done a couple of the other ones. I mean, he's horror. He's like the most elevated of elevated horror. We'll get into it. Like whether or not this is even horror is like
not really. It's very genre-y.
But it's horror adjacent by association with Guillermo Del Toro would be my opinion.
And film noir.
Yeah, no, sure. There's also like, and well, again, not to like get into the review. There's some pretty gruesome shit that happens in this that like normie audiences, like I told people were like, "Oh, what'd you think?" And I was like, "It's okay," but there's some gruesome stuff that I thought was cool. So take that for what you will. But yeah, so this is, as Eric was joking about earlier, this is a remake of a 1947 film. And of course I closed the tab I had open. But Edmund, shit, I'm gonna have to Google it again. Edmund something or other. He sort of major Hollywood studio era director, did a ton of shit from like the 30s all the way to like the mid 50s. Edmund Goulding. I just pulled that out of my memory. I didn't even have to Google it. And so, yeah, Del Toro is, from what I understand in talking to Caitlin before the show here, pretty faithfully adapting to get into the plot. I'll try to do this quickly, although there's a lot of plot. Stan, played by Bradley Cooper, is our main character. The film opens with him escaping from or sort of fleeing a burning barn or burning farmhouse. We then see him essentially fall in with a carnival that's run by Willem Dafoe, but also features Toni Collette as a seer / like, crystal ball type
sort of like
person.
She gives sensual baths out of her house for 10 cents.
She does that too.
I literally saw that sign. It's like, it's in the background for a few shots before it becomes a part of the movie. And I was watching it with Elizabeth and I'm like, baths for, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, she has a tub? I was like, is this like is there running water? Is this like a Game of Thrones boiling buckets of water situation? Like, and then you actually see the bath.
Yeah. Well,
and I was
it's
still
sort of
confused, frankly.
The film happens in 2 parts, effectively. Maybe there's a third part. I can't remember, but
it's like 2.3 parts.
It's like
3.3 parts.
They might give the exact year, but I would guess it's like 1933, 1934.
41. Because there's a news in the end, when he's listening to the radio, there's a news report about like Nazis, something.
But is that wait? You're saying that's part one?
I think that's in the part 2.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
do you think? Oh, are we that far in the future? Interesting. I didn't really. I honestly didn't put that
Part
together.
one takes place in the 30s for sure. It's definitely depression. It's definitely like this carnival that they're a part of is like the primary entertainment for the places that it, it's like a big deal when that carnival shows up. So you've got Rooney Mara, who plays like what exactly her role is at this carnival. She's like, I mean,
Just a performer.
She's got a show.
yeah.
She's got.
Well,
a
her
grift.
act is that she gets electrocuted using those sort of like what are those
Science
balls
museum
called?
balls.
Yeah. They have a name, I'm sure. Like, but so she does this whole. It's like a pretty cool act. I don't know. There's Ron Perlman playing like the strongman. David Strathairn. Is that how we say his last name? David Strathairn. He plays Pete, who's Pete is a mentalist, but at this point of his life, effectively like non-functional drunk and like potentially addicted to other drugs. I was, but
well, involuntarily, perhaps.
Yeah, and he's also Xena, Toni Collette's husband / partner. So he's like a really skilled mentalist and had this like long, extensive career. And basically, Stan shows up. He's kind of the low man on the totem pole, but starts to learn from Pete, from David Strathairn, to the point that he, where the film sort of part one ends is he become, the Padawan becomes the Jedi or whatever that Star Wars, analogy is. And
that was
he
right.
now graduates.
That tracks.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
He graduates to becoming a mentalist. He decides he's going to go out on his own, and he convinces Rooney Mara to do that and sort of like leave with him. And they're going to do this sort of like traveling mentalist show, and it's interesting. And like we'll talk about it, but like the film also presents this, it's a historical film, right? Like it presents like this transition from Depression to World War II era America. And you see them in the big city practicing this act. And then he sort of, through his own failings or faults, let's say, and then through association with Cate Blanchett, gets drawn into this sort of increasingly complicated grift that they are trying to pull on rich people I think it was Chicago, right? I mean, I was pretty sure, but now
sounds right.
I'm questioning it. I think it's Chicago.
Let's call it Gotham.
Yeah, Gotham. And so, the second half of the film is really about Stan's battle with his own demons, trying to keep this grift alive. And the people that they are running this grift on are like dangerous politicians, mob-affiliated folks in Chicago. So it's very much sort of like becomes a life or death situation. I don't know. We can talk about it. Like he comes at it in some ways from like a good place of like he's using his mentalism. And when I say mentalism, he's basically like running a theater act where he can like guess people's birthdays, but then he gets into like telling them
he starts getting into a thing that he's specifically warned about by Toni Collette and Jurassic Park man, which is that not to basically use the thing to fool people. They call it the spook show, and it's basically making people believe that they can have contact with dead relatives.
Yes.
And basically we can talk about it, but there's a lot made of sort of like these people having certain codes, but also that it is dangerous because you start messing with people in a way that can lead to bad things, which twist, John. It does. It does. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a pretty decent synopsis of a very long, winding movie. Ariel, what did you think? Did you know it was a remake before like this movie happened?
I did. So I'm a pretty big film noir fan. I've seen the original 47 version a few times.
Wow.
I think Guillermo Del Toro, though, has said that his is a faithful adaptation of the book and not a remake of the 47 movie because there are some significant differences between the two. On top of the fact that it's like 45 minutes longer, I think, than the original one.
Damn, bro.
I did really like this, though. I mean, it is an absolutely beautifully made movie. It's gorgeous. The sets are beautiful, the way it's lit, all the costuming. It's just gorgeous. And you can tell that he made it with a lot of love and care for that genre, you know? And one of the good things about making it longer is that we do get more of the carnival stuff, which I absolutely love. I think that Toni Collette and Willem Dafoe are so good in this, and I could watch an entire movie just about the two of them. They were so enjoyable, but so was everybody else, like Ron Perlman and everybody. They were all so cool. I have a little bit of mixed feelings about the second half because a lot of that I think was really great, but I do think that it drags a little bit and you start to feel that 2.5 hour runtime towards the end of it. But all in all, I really liked it. And I did like some of the darker aspects, like you were talking about, Eric, that got added to this, where it's like more violent and a little drearier. We'll talk about it in spoilers, but the ending has a significant difference that's a lot darker.
It's not a pick-me-up, so to speak.
What's that?
It's not a pick-me-up, so to speak.
No, definitely not. But yeah, I like this one.
Caitlin.
I really loved this one. I've seen some criticism that it's Oscar bait, and yeah, I mean that that tracks, but I don't mind it because it is so beautiful and it is really compelling. It's long, but I was mostly wrapped by it. It did drag a little bit in the second half for me, just because I wasn't that interested in. We get into that Ezra Grindle character and his backstory a little bit more than I cared about. I would have liked even more Bradley Cooper. I feel like his presence throughout is just so strong. And even when I was like not that interested in the whole Ezra storyline, I was interested in watching him sort of stand navigate it.
I will say you cannot put two actors from Step Brothers in the same movie without massively distracting me.
I really do think everyone gave good performances. Like Ariel said, I could watch Willem Dafoe talk carny culture for the entire movie. It's just the sets there especially are beautiful. I also really liked the theme, which we sort of talked about over email, that everyone's running a grift, everyone's running sort of a scam of some kind here. You know, even after they leave the carnival. We talked about Carney Code, which I also am really interested in. But I loved this, and I will show my ass, as the kids say. I do love American Horror Story Freak Show, widely regarded as the worst season.
You do?
John's laughing at me, but you know what?
I love that you're like, I'm going to show my ass. The ass has been out.
We've seen your ass before, Caitlin.
We know.
Oh, wow.
For those who are not on our email
that's
thread,
regarded as the worst?
It is often regarded as the worst season.
Caitlin mentioned American Horror Story Freak Show 47 times in our email thread before the show.
You know where you got the number 47 from, too. That's how many meters down my favorite shark movie is.
It's true.
I like what I like, you guys. But I will say, like,
cool.
I feel like the original Nightmare Alley, this Nightmare Alley, American Horror Story Freak Show, like Freaks, the movie, like you see a lot of these sort of tropes from carnival and freak show movies, and I don't know, it's nice to see them. I just liked when I saw those little like hints of like, oh yeah, I knew that. It makes me feel good. John,
did Del Toro direct? He did Crimson Peak too, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities. They're both just like very lovingly crafted period piece worlds and very visually stimulating in the same way.
So is Shape of Water, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
There was a lot of period stuff. Like this
Shape of Water in itself extremely similar to this visually.
I would have guessed Shape of Water was like 50s.
Okay, but not too far.
Not terrible.
But very much that same style. Like just this is just a little older kind of. John, what did you think, buddy?
So I've been like joking over the last couple of weeks.
When you're watching a movie, do you like put your hair up in a scrunchie, or do you like brush it while you watch the movie? Like, what's going on with your hair?
I was laying in bed watching this for most of the time, which honestly was probably part of the problem.
Do you sleep with a shower cap on?
No.
Just to be safe?
Although honestly, I woke up in the middle of the night last night. My hair was all over my face, and I'm like, "What? There's got to be a solution here."
What do
Put
ladies
in a
do?
ponytail when you sleep.
But like my wife doesn't wear a ponytail when she sleeps. Like, is her hair?
Well,
I don't think so.
Doing this her whole life, John. She's not an amateur.
I guess. I don't know. It is a problem. I've been thinking about this. All right. So in any event, I'll consider ponytail going forward.
Good.
Here's what I would say. I've actually enjoyed the email discourse around this film. There's a lot to like talk about and think about, and it is gorgeously made. I love all the actors. Like he got like every character actor under the sun to show up. Like there's folks in this. What's his? God, it's like not a spoiler, but Tim Blake Nelson is in this for 5 seconds, and it's just like a delight. Like as soon as I see Tim Blake Nelson, I'm just like,
Who's that?
Yes, he's like the last scene. He's Carney
the-
manager number 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Tim Blake Nelson. I'm
Yeah, me
here
too.
for any Tim Blake Nelson.
I was
so,
psyched to see the guy from Mindhunter.
again, totally
Great
agree.
character actor, yeah.
Why is he not getting more work? Yeah. So all that being said, like I loved. There's many things I like. I didn't love watching the movie. Like I just didn't. Like while I was watching it, I was just like, get on with it already. Like even the Carney stuff, so the first half of this movie I found much more engrossing, mostly because of the characters. Like I just felt like the characters were more fun. Ron Perlman, his little person companion, whatever, like
Major Mosquito.
Oh, is that he's the major? Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, like I loved their like kind of like 2-man show. Willem Dafoe we talked about, the geek. I was shocked because this came up at work, like how many people didn't know what a geek was, and I like,
Oh.
yeah, like there was a book, Geek Love. Have anybody ever seen this book, Geek Love?
Wasn't there a
Anyway.
song? There was some kind of song or movie in my youth that taught me this. Like I didn't know it, and I remember a specific thing teaching me, and me being like, "Oh,
This was a thing. My dad told me this like 100%. This was like the type of like trivia. He'd be like, "Hey, you know what a geek actually is?" In any event, like I like the first half. The first half is mostly like characterization and sort of world building or like character building. It doesn't have that much of a point. Like I can understand where in the original it would have been shorter because you don't need as much as they give you, although it is a lot of fun. And then you've got the second half. Bradley Cooper in the second half of this movie is detestable from the jump. Like I wanted bad things to happen to him. And so,
the first half he's kind of morally ambiguous, like definitely shady, but you're like, I kept thinking something's gonna happen that's gonna like make him be good, like because there's things happening around him that might be pinging his humanity, and you're like, oh, where's this going? And then they go forward 30 seconds into the flash into the future, you're like, oh, he's a bad man, he's bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah,
all the ambiguity is just out the window. But to
Yeah,
be
he's-
fair,
he's
that's
much more detestable
that's
in
part
this
of the-
version than the 47 one.
to be
like, he's-
fair, I think that's part of that journey sometimes too. Like it's about a character who's sort of like doesn't start out necessarily that bad, but is highly corruptible. Like he's malleable to.
But I do think it's really hard to build a movie around a
it's bold.
character. Yeah, that you, frankly, I was like, can something terrible just happen? Like,
Because it's
can
not
Richard
even like
Jenkins beat him up already?
not
Like,
even
I
like
love
you're
Richard
getting-
Jenkins, I love too, by the way.
it's not even like you're getting enough of a good character to balance. Like there isn't a lot of balance. Like
No.
you've got Rooney Mara, but
No.
she's does not have a lot of screen time. Like she's not really like
She's-
the main.
She's
character.
a non-factor in this movie. Like that's another complaint I have is like a lot of my complaints end up being around like structure, pacing, and like the way that the second half of this thing evolves. I will say I was pretty clear on where this was going. Certainly, like as soon as I don't know if we want to get into spoilers, but like so when it gets there, I'm kind of like, okay, like cool. Did I need 3 hours to get to this point? Like I wanted him to get punished. He's getting punished. I don't know. Like, and it did even feel, and I think Arrow, you mentioned like the pacing issues. Part of it is that like there's not really a climax. Like even the climax is like a fake climax because then you have this whole denouement, like coda, whatever you want to call it. That's pretty long.
It's fair. It's lengthy, yeah.
And so
It's like
I don't know.
15 minutes.
So yeah, like I respect this movie. That it is a Best Picture nominee is like ludicrous to me. Like it's just like,
Oh, come on.
but like,
John
what are we
Schnars.
talking about? Like, are we really not making better movies
Is
than
that
this at this
hair
point? Like,
draining your brain out, John? What's
no,
happening?
like, but this is like, because like I think it's
Don't they have
where
a
I, like,
huge pool of Best Picture nominees now? Isn't it like double the
There-
size?
there's 10, But like,
And we're also
I
in a
don't know, there's
slow era. Like movies are not coming out as fast paced as they used to because of the theaters.
sure. There's just I'm like I don't know. They
Did
first
it-
of all, well,
that's a
whatever.
good
They
question.
don't have to nominate 10.
I have a question also. Did this go to theaters? Because man, I would have loved to
Yeah.
have seen this on a
I
big
think
Yeah,
it's
it
still
did.
in theaters. Yeah.
Is
It
it?
is still in
Well, I'm
theaters.
not gonna.
Yeah, I could see it in New York.
I'm not
for sure.
watching it again, and I'm not watching it when I
No.
can't break it in half into 2 sittings.
I was
So,
gonna say, Eric, you would need a bathroom break during that.
oof. Well, maybe a fork. Maybe they'll get like the Blu-ray or something. It's real pretty. I loved this movie, which is actually, I mean, given how much
This
I
breaks all the Eric rules.
it breaks all the Eric rules. However, it
Is
weirdly
that good, John?
it weirdly reminds me of a lot of my favorite Scorsese movies, and then it follows a very similar kind of structure that is admittedly like non-traditional, where it's almost like following, instead of just like a one story arc, it's like following the life and times of a character. There is a larger arc, but within that you're getting several kind of ups and downs. And largely like those Scorsese movies I love, it's about a sort of easily corruptible character who just goes buck wild, gets in too deep, and gets what's coming to him, usually him at the end. I don't know why, I just found like a weird parallel. So I was sort of like, I guess I might be primed, because some of those Scorsese movies, like Wolf of Wall Street, is a really great example. Like, there isn't really one story. There's like 10 stories in that movie, and I've watched that movie like 100 times. So I might be just primed to enjoy something if it's as
Sure.
pretty as this and moves. I mean, like, it doesn't move per se, but I feel like it's the acting. Like every scene is like world class acting going on. Like I think everybody is fantastic in this movie. Man, Toni Collette, Willem Dafoe. I was really fascinated by Rooney Mara's performance here because it's very layered, and in particular, what I liked was her ability through that character to sort of show the like putting on of different faces. Because like, especially in the fast forward time, she is ostensibly, when they're doing their performances, like this very sophisticated, confident assistant to Bradley Cooper. But as soon as we get backstage, she is in this like, I mean, I think emotionally abusive relationship. Like that's what it looks like, especially when he's like berating
by
her
the
for not
end, for
memorizing
sure.
shit. But like, so you see, she's projecting these different things, and then they've moved into this sort of high society kind of life that they're moving around in. But then they get with their carny people, and she like the accent comes out. I don't know, something just kind of fascinated me about Rooney Mara in this movie. I'm a big I love Bradley Cooper almost as much as John Schnars, so I'm pretty inclined to love anything that he does. I love him here. He's hamming it up. Looks great with a mustache, John, if I do say so myself.
That's your next assignment, John.
And
grow a
man, like,
mustache.
then when you just think like there can't be more amazing acting in this movie, Kate Blanchett comes in and is basically like just an amazing noir, like larger than life villain in this incredible office setting. And like,
You really just love The Office. is what
it's
it comes down to.
incredible. It's so. I mean, this movie is friggin' gorgeous. I feel like if I had seen this in a theater, it might have even blown me away. I maybe even might be like higher on it, like because it would have just been so dazzled by the visuals. I love too. I'm really a sucker for period pieces that spend a lot of time in the day-to-day minutia of the world, and I think that's actually what a lot of the runtime goes to, especially in the carnival part. I love the like, here's where we sit and eat breakfast, and here's where we
Yeah.
get HJs in the bathtub. Like,
Totally agree.
but like, here's how, but like you see him sleeping on the straw. Like all that stuff adds time to the movie, right? It might be a full minute of watching him wake up in his weird straw bed and wander out and get food. But like, man, that stuff gets me in the pleasure centers of my brain, John. So there's a lot of things about this movie that are kind of tailor made for me. It is very long. I watched it in 2 sittings. I was I was a little ways into the Kate Blanchett storyline when I kind of broke it, and then I finished it the next day. If I tried to do this in one sitting, I might feel differently about the plot. Like there is something to be said about being able to do that if you gotta stop watching something. But man, I loved it. I think it's great.
Eric, I think the one place that you and I are disagreeing on this is I didn't like Rooney Mara's performance that much. I feel like I don't know. I don't know if she was just underutilized or if she just, I don't know. Ariel, was it you that also you weren't
Yeah.
crazy about it?
Yeah, I just found her pretty flat a lot of the time. And I think we're supposed to read her as being really charming. And I just didn't get that so much from her. I also think part of it is maybe in the script writing that she's not given a lot of really good lines in this. Colleen Gray, I think, plays her character in the 47 version, and she's got a lot of like spunk and heart to her, and also this naivete that runs through where you're like, I understand why she follows him where she follows him.
Mm-hmm.
And I found some of that to be missing here. I don't think it's a terrible performance by any means. Nobody gives a terrible performance in this movie. She just wasn't my favorite. Yeah.
All of the acting. Here's what I would say. I agree, and like I said, I love the actors, and I think there is like an affectation they are doing here. Like they are almost like doing a like a 1940s noir performance, but in a modern film. And so I think that has very uneven results. And I think Rooney Mara like is not as, it doesn't work as well for her. Whereas like Ron Perlman, you drop him in 1945. He's fine. Like,
I wish I
yeah,
knew.
very true.
I wish I knew his name, but the little person in this movie is fantastic. Like
His name is Mark.
Mark Povinelli.
Yeah.
extremely charismatic, and I liked. I liked his relationship with Rooney Mara. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I-
I also sorry.
Go
Go
ahead. Sorry. No.
I was just gonna say I like that there's this line where he's pulling the lever and Bradley Cooper bends down to do it to show him, and he thinks he's bending down to talk to him, and he says, "Don't do that. Like, don't bend down to talk to me." I just appreciated adding that in because I know that's an issue. You know?
I love that scene. I thought Cooper was awesome in that scene. I loved watching him get animated,
Mhm.
and that's a thing for me that pulled me through the parts even after the movie. I enjoyed watching Bradley Cooper do the mentalist thing. Like I enjoyed watching him sort of read people, try to scam people. Like he gets really excited in that scene where they're testing out the electric chair and he's all animated and he's kind of showing him how to do it. That it's like a lot of fun, and that to me is what pulled me through the points in which he just becomes a not likable character. That's also where the movie just starts getting very dark, because at that point you feel a little out on a limb without a likable character, and you just know shit's going south like real fast. You just know it's happening.
I feel like they do
Yeah.
a good job of him like being interested in the grift and like the magician mentalist grift. He's good at it, and you see him like come into his own and be good at it and sort of like save the day in that one scenario when the cops show up. And then you see his ego just swell and his just douchebaggery intensify.
Sure.
And then, we get his fall because he breaks the code like he does the spook show. So it's like, I think that, his performance here is really, really great.
So, all right, can we get into the spoilers? Because like I want to talk through the morality play aspects of this,
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
because it's all right. So you said Caitlin, not to put you on the spot, but like we've been we've been talking about like the thing you just said, like about him like breaking the code, and like that's what like kind of leads to his punishment. It's like yes and no, because to me, like the beginning of the fall is so one of the things that's set up in the film is he doesn't drink, and he's like very assiduous about it, and that sort of ties back to this flashback that we keep getting to his father, which was like kind of confusing to me almost all the way until the end of the film. Like he just like hated his dad and like killed his dad.
Yes.
Well, I mean, there's that, and he killed Tom.
Pete.
What was his name? Tom.
Yeah, Pete.
Pete. Sorry, yeah, Pete.
No, sure, but the like
Was that
killing
intentional?
of the dad.
What's that?
Pete,
Killing of
yeah,
Pete,
he
that was
killed Pete
intentional?
intentionally.
Yeah.
That was my read on it, at least.
Yeah, well, that's what Kate Blanchett says, that, he poisoned the liquor bottle that he gave him. In the 47 version, it's a mistake. He accidentally puts it next to some wood alcohol, and the guy drinks it by mistake, and that guilt
He poisoned
helps
it?
to sort of
I
propel
thought it was
him
that he
and
gave
change
him the. I thought it was that he gave him the wood alcohol.
Yeah,
He did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, that's what I mean. But
Yeah.
he did it intentionally in this
There-
movie.
Yeah, exactly. He like picks it of
Yeah.
like he like sees there are two, and he had just been told that like one's deadly and the other
Yeah,
one's
red
not.
means this, blue means
Yeah.
that, or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
By the way,
No,
there's like a handful of like real funny things in this movie. And one of them is that Willem Dafoe keeps those two things directly next to each other
Sure.
with a very thin divider.
This is the one that everyone loves and
Yep.
we have a good time with.
This will kill you.
No, but so the question I have is like,
Maybe lock
if
those
we're
up.
if we're supposed to take something away from this movie, it's certainly there's this like his ego swells, he pushes the grift too far, and he's like ultimately punished. But like he's not like that. The way that it's actually presented is like he becomes a victim himself because he
Right.
like opens himself up through his I don't know, like it's like through his overreach he opens himself up to
Right. It's like
Kate Blanchett's.
he is a bad person. You're also watching a person you've spent the whole movie with essentially get victimized himself. So like each person is going to make their own call on what that makes them feel, but it certainly begs the question, am I to feel something?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've seen. Like, she's running a grift on him. He thinks he's running a grift on Ezra. Like, everybody's running a scam of some kind. And he's a scam artist and he's also a victim. Like, I don't feel bad for him. He's a victim, but I don't feel bad for him, because he's done a whole lot of terrible things.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about noir that I find interesting is that it's often about this doomed fool kind of narrative that you keep making choice after choice that sometimes are morally ambiguous or downright evil that then lead you to that doom in the end. That it's a predestined thing almost, and I think that this movie does that pretty well, and maybe even too well in that you kind of see the end coming, but by setting up the geek in the beginning and then having it end that way, it sort of fulfills that cycle.
Look, like even though I sort of had a sense where it was going, it's still a tidy ending.
Man,
like,
what a long journey for a Twilight Zone episode. You're like, oh shit, okay. I didn't see it coming at all, which is really funny. I was talking with Elizabeth and she was saying like she just knew when they were having that conversation in the beginning. I'm not that good, but like I literally was like halfway into that conversation in the final scene, and to myself was like, oh no, like that. It did not occur to me until that final scene, and I was like, oh god, it's happening. Oh god.
Well, that's why,
like when he jumps on that train and he is encircled basically by chickens in cages.
You guys are smart.
I guess like for me and like I don't know, I mean I've seen a bunch of noir. Most of the noir stuff I've seen is more detectives, this sort of like, let's say like classic noir structure, and this is like different from that, and like I guess my question would be, what are we supposed to make of Kate Blanchett? Like she's the like big bad here, like she's the ultimate evil, and what was interesting to me is that she's a doctor. Like I don't think she's a medical doctor, or maybe
I think she's a psychiatrist. She's an MD, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So, this is like kind of early days of psychiatry. She's effectively like abusing her position as a doctor to do some really gruesome shit. I mean, not just to the stand, but we know she's done other stuff. Like this is not like the first game she's played of this variety. So I don't know, like I'm curious, like and I don't know, Ariel, like how it plays in the first one or just like in general how we handle that.
In the original one it's a little bit different because she is helping him in the same way, but the way that their ending happens is a little different where she tries to basically convince him that he's crazy, that she didn't do any of this stuff. She sort of gaslights him until he kind of loses it. And that's when he starts drinking and, the ending happens. And so I do think that what Caitlin was saying earlier is right, that sort of the morality of this movie is telling you that nobody's really good, right? Yeah. Everybody, like you were saying, has a grift on somebody else, and it's just to degrees. And Kate Blanchett's character, you're right. She is manipulating her clients. She's manipulating Bradley Cooper. She's taking advantage of everybody in really horrible ways. She's stealing money from him. It's pretty awful. But he also murders 4 different people over the course of this movie.
That's true.
And takes advantage of everybody, screws Molly over. He's a terrible person too.
No, totally. Well, you're almost like rooting for bad things to happen to him.
Right.
But like we're not left with anybody to hold on to. It's not like we're like
I mean, the
Get
only
I
him,
sort
Kate
of
Blanchett.
I
like
think
we have sort of like the like little Carney family crew, you know. Like I had like a swell of tender feelings, you know, when he comes to the apartment and he's so pissed because Ron Perlman's character is there, Major Mosquito's there, like, you know, and it's like I'm like, oh, the family is together
Yeah.
again, and I'm happy for her because she's been so mistreated. It's like those are the only characters that I'm really rooting for, just because I'm happy to see them reunited. But no, I mean, from an outside perspective, I'm like, LOL, cool. Like Kate Blanchett got him, you know, like I liked watching her like do her reveal and be this Bond villain in a very Bond villain setting.
Yeah, she's
But
a
yeah, I
great
mean,
femme fatale. I mean, sometimes she's a
Yeah.
little like mustache twirly about it,
Did
but
any of
you
she's so much
guys-
fun to watch.
did you guys
I'm not
make-
rooting for her either. I'm just sort
Oh,
of like,
no, of course
look
not.
at all
I
these
mean, you
like
generally
awesomely
aren't.
terrible people.
Yeah, for those
Did
characters.
you guys
anymore.
make a connection between what happened to Kate Blanchett in the before time and the rich guy?
So with
Did
her
he
scar,
hurt
you're saying
her?
whether he's the one who did it because he said he did terrible
Because
things to
that's
other
a
women?
theory that's like out there.
That's interesting. Why
did
would she be
not-
a psychiatrist?
I did not
then?
pick that up
Yeah. That's an interesting idea, though.
because she did know him
Yeah,
previously.
I think. I mean,
Right.
that's how she got that intel. Like that's how
Right.
you know she supplied it to Stan.
Hmm.
I figured that there was something that she crossed him in some way, and that's
I
how
don't-
she got her scar.
If that's intended, I don't think it's in the like text of the movie.
I was more just like, holy shit, how do you get a scar like that and not die?
Well,
Like,
it begs more explanation, which might suggest that maybe they were. I don't know. Like, it's not just like a little. Yeah, it's not like I fell or I got stabbed. It's just like
you know who had a killer cameo in this? Just as an aside, Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah.
yeah.
Wait, which one was she?
Okay,
She's the mom.
that moment with the gun shocked the
Mhm.
shit out of
Oh
me.
God, yeah, that was
That was
so
like
good.
genuine. My jaw actually physically dropped. That's how that much that.
Yeah,
shocked
I
me.
mean, she does such a good job because after she kills her husband, there is such a look of peace and joy on
Oh.
her face. She looks so happy with what she's
Yeah.
done. It's
And as a-
disturbing.
As the
Yeah.
viewer, right? Because like Tony Collette's warned Bradley Cooper, like if you
Right.
do this, bad shit can happen. I went, oh, that's it. That's a bad thing that can happen.
Well, as soon as they
Good
cut
point.
to them, I knew where it was going. Like they show you the scene of them at breakfast, and you're like, oh, this is about to get really grim. You know, like there's just no reason to go back to them at that point.
Right.
They don't.
Yeah.
They're not integral to the plot, and it frankly doesn't even like come back. It's truly just like for that moment that Eric's
Well, no, that's-
describing.
That's the like the heavy, the dude that's like protecting Ezra hears it on the radio, and that's when he intervenes.
Sure, they could have done that other ways. I mean, you're right.
John
like,
is
that does
trying
happen.
to murder me tonight.
No,
I'm
it's like
live on the
it's
show.
like live breaking news on the radio, like random
Well, he
guy.
was a judge. He
Yeah,
was like
I know.
a prominent figure.
Come on.
Come on.
How many judges are getting like? I mean, I guess it was the 40s. Like it was
It's a murder
different times.
suicide. I mean,
Yeah. Interrupted the like
Boop, boop,
popular
boop, 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 boop,
happy-
boop, breaking
You
news
interrupt this-
bulletin.
this-
Yeah.
World War I coverage, World War II coverage.
Right. It's like Hitler's advancing. Wait, local man
Slain.
murdered.
Wife suspected.
Anything else, you guys? Any other moments that you particularly enjoyed?
I
I
really
mean, the
do.
ending.
Yeah, the ending is
The ending for me,
amazing.
it's like it's actually kind of Del Toro, and this is now that I think about Crimson Peak, it's kind of interesting because both movies are sort of on the surface like super classy looking period piece genre films, but like they're very kind of pulpy, both movies, and tawdry, and like the ending now reorienting myself to the movie through the ending, I'm like, oh, okay, like I kind of get it. In the moment, I was like, what the fuck? It is so intensely, for me, was so intensely out of left field, even though I guess it was obvious to other people. I was like a little taken aback for a little bit. But
Well, the very first geek scene is, I was like, oh,
I closed
boy.
my
Like,
eyes. I
this is-
couldn't tell you what happened.
Yeah. No, like I love Del Toro. I love that Del Toro, right? Like Hellboy Del Toro. Like I would have liked this more if it was like pulpier and shorter. Like those would have been my two things.
I mean, shorter, yeah, definitely. And I think what's interesting about Del Toro doing this movie now is that, you know, when the movie was originally made in the 40s, they had to abide by the Hays Code and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they couldn't show all this violence. There couldn't be sex and even references so much to it. So I mean, you get a lot more violence in this one, obviously. I mean, that guy's nose is gone. You know, it's like there's a lot more violence in this one, and I think you can see Del Toro's hand in that, not just in the way that the movie looks, but also in that addition to it, which I do think makes it more interesting. I just disagree with the length of the movie, and I like that the ending is even darker. The 47 one, the same thing happens where he becomes a geek, but it's at the same circus he used to work at, and Molly is there when he gets there. And so he's going nuts as the geek sort of running around, and she's able to calm him down. And that's where the movie ends, where you're sort of left with this feeling that maybe they're kind of like the new Xena and Pete, you know? But this one, it's like he just says he was born for it and cackles, and it's Molly is gone.
It's in particular the line delivery that's just like, whoa, like they just go over the top to 11.
It's the best part of Bradley Cooper's performance in my mind. Like that line, I was like, oh yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't normally like Bradley Cooper that much, if I'm honest, because...
Me too.
Okay, good. Because to me, he always feels like he has this sort of faux charm on top of a cold person. And for me in this movie, I think that worked perfectly, because that's Stan to a T, you know?
Yeah, I am not a huge fan of his typically. I don't know if it's just the types of movies and roles that he gets, but
how dare you?
He's so compelling.
He's a producer on this. He's an Oscar nominee.
Okay.
This movie received no acting nominations.
That's
he's
wild to me.
It's like cinematography, best picture, and then costume and makeup, basically.
I mean, those all make sense, but I am surprised that nobody got one for acting.
Yeah, some pretty.
Well, and Eric, to return to your question, or maybe it was John at the beginning. Like I don't really think this is a horror movie, but I'm really glad we covered it, and it's probably as close as we're gonna get in terms of a best picture nom, unless Jordan Peele knocks it out with Nope.
That's true.
We did Shape of Water.
When is Nope coming out?
No, but I mean like for this year.
Oh yeah.
When is Nope coming out?
I think it's the summer of July.
I mean, his Peele was Us nominated for anything?
Get Out was nominated best picture.
Us wasn't.
No, I don't.
I've been thinking about revisiting that movie. That shit is wild.
Us is so good.
Oh my god.
It is really good.
Messed up, man.
Yeah.
Living with the below people, like, oh my god, that's not cool. Would you recommend
Nightmare Alley?
Nightmare Alley, Caitlin?
I would, yes.
Ariel?
Yeah, I would.
Jonathan?
I will recommend it after Shape of Water and Crimson Peak. This is like in that triptych.
Shape of Water, both of those. I mean, you're actually, I think that's accurate. That's a good, accurate ranking of those three films of his.
Have some coffee with you as well.
Yeah. I remember way back in the day, didn't Del Toro do Devil's Backbone?
Yes.
I remember, so that was, I remember reviewing that movie for like original Bloody Good Horror college website in like the early 2000s, probably.
We did an episode on it, I'm pretty sure, in the first like 50.
I hated it. I don't remember
really?
I
love that movie.
When we did it for the podcast, I might have changed my tune on it. I don't remember. But I was also like a dumbass college kid, so who knows? But at the time, I was like, this shit is boring, y'all. I don't care what happens to these kids.
I think that's his second movie. It was like Kronos is his first film.
Which I've never seen. It has a pretty big cult following.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. 4 thumbs up from the BGH crew. I believe Casey liked it a lot as well. We should mention he's going through some like physical therapy. He's got some podcasting injuries that he's healing from, and hopefully he'll be back soon. So if you see Casey on social media or Slack, just shout him out and tell him you hope he feels better soon. All right, y'all, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
You know, a lot of people write me and say, hey, Joe Bob Briggs, just what is monster vision? You don't need no special glasses or an insect's head, just a healthy love for slime and disrespect for the dead. We'll talk about some movies by the old double wide, and tearing up inside. Well, then you got Monster Vision, it's a heck of a fright. We're tearing the heart out of Saturday night. These Monster Vision movies serve a primitive drive, 'cause watching people die can make you feel so alive. So throw away your clicker now, the flick's have begun, 'cause there's nothing you can do while fully dressed that's as fun as watching TNT beneath the bug zapper light. We're tearing the heart out of Saturday night. Tearing the heart out of Saturday night. Hey, I'm Joe Bob Briggs, and you're listening to the Bloody Good Horror Podcast.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
Few things pick me up like that song, John. As you can see.
I know.
You know what
I'm
lifts
aware.
me up, Eric?
What?
Filling up your year-end list.
Ooh. So here's the thing.
Well-
I think this is a 2021 movie.
It is.
How-
Even though it's out right now in theaters.
I know, but it was like you could have seen this in 21.
Google
if
it. Let's Google it.
People voted for it in last year.
Damn it.
I know. This is one of those
December
situations where-
17th, 2021.
Yeah.
What's my
Sorry.
number one, just out of curiosity, Caitlin?
You only have two on your list. It's number 1, Scream, and then blank, and then number 10 is
This-
Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, this
Texas
would have
Chainsaw.
this would have gone above Scream.
Okay.
Let's just say that.
In my heart.
Maybe I can work it so Scream 5 goes at number 5 this year. I would enjoy that symmetry. No email this week except Kaylin Kissimmee trolling me about Disney stuff, which I'm not going to read on air because I don't care about Disney. Kaylin, what's going on Twitter?
Sure. So for Ask BGH, we've got 2 tweets. First is from InfoWarf. He says, as this is a Best Picture nominee, what horror movie do you think truly deserved at least a nomination before this? I found A Quiet Place to be extremely well done. Also, even though it's a German movie, Endsight, which means ever after, is a simply beautiful zombie movie on Shudder.
I've never heard
Is
of
he
that
talking
one.
about just this year or
I think Quiet.
I think in
I
general.
think A Quiet Place
Hereditary?
getting a Hereditary. Dude, okay, that's the answer. Because
I
that
would have said Midsummer of the
Midsommar?
Yeah,
of those.
Midsummer too.
Midsummer, yeah, maybe even more so. But like, there's some really amazing performances. Like
Like Toni Collette should
Toni
have gotten an
Collette,
award
Gabriel
for that
Yeah,
Byrne
role.
in
for that
that movie.
monologue, I mean, come on.
the two of them for that most awkward dinner scene ever put to film.
Oh yes.
I am your mother. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, like that's a really good answer. The Witch.
The Witch.
Oh yeah,
The
The
Witch.
Witch.
Yeah.
I mean, The Lighthouse.
Totally.
I love The
The
Lighthouse,
Lighthouse is a great.
too. At
answer.
least
good.
some Defoe acting nomination.
Listen,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
there
Talk
are
about
so
another
great in that.
monologue.
the
that
point being
monologue
though,
he gives.
the point being like there are some artsy kind of elevated horror movies that kind of got robbed. In
Yeah,
some
she
ways.
name drops all of them in Scream 5.
Yeah. That's
The
true.
Babadook, It Follows. Like
Uh,
A24 was like, let me at it.
yeah, they're writing the checks.
And then the next one comes from our buddy Skizbot. He said, are you as amazed as I am that you didn't die by corn dog food poisoning or carnival ride in your youth?
I've had a corn dog like once or twice in my life, but definitely I've definitely been in some real sketchy ass theme park rides, and I loved those rides as a kid, and I would go on them like over and over. So yes.
Oh yeah, the zipper.
Yeah.
Did you guys have the zipper?
What is
don't
the
know.
Which
zipper?
one's that?
The zipper was like oblong shaped, like very long.
The whole thing would spin, and the
Yes.
thing would yes.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and you were in the cages that spun around.
I had a friend who 100% got a concussion on that thing because his head hit the
Yeah.
thing, and I had to
Yeah.
drive his car home. I was like 16, did not have my license, John. It was not pretty.
The zipper was deadly. There's so many things that could have gone wrong. Like you didn't get strapped in properly. It's like, yeah, you're done.
I would
It's
go
like
on.
you're about to-
I
The
had
dangers at a carnival. I mean, but Skylar's not wrong. Like, what are the food safety checkpoints?
I had a real frightening.
It's all fried. Like you're fine.
I had a real frightening experience on the Ring of Fire, which is like a perfectly circular roller coaster thing. And the problem is that like I'm a slight person, and like the people at those carnivals are not really checking like how big you are. And so I remember going on one year, should not have been let on, and it goes and flips upside down and it stays there. And I was legit like out of the seat, like hanging onto the bar for my life.
Yeah. I remember Ring of
terrifying.
Fire. It's just all it is it goes upside down. It like rocks back and forth,
And then it
like,
just
starts
gets
going
there and it
upside down.
stops. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Messed
feel like
up.
that about the boat, like the boats that go like whoop
I
and
can't-
they
no, I
flip upside
can't.
down. You can always hear people's change, or you did when people had change, like trickling out of their pockets and hitting the metal on the way down.
Nothing frightens me more than those boats.
Yeah.
Even if
I had an
if
uncle
they're
that puked on it and like got all
Oh,
over people.
God.
So ever since then, I'm like, never, ever, ever
No,
again.
thank
even if
Not because
they're
of the upside down, but because I don't want to be fucking puked on.
because some of them
Yeah.
don't go upside down. Some of them just go like as high up as you can.
really
without-
high, yeah.
But like that feeling of stopping for a moment and like lifting, my body cannot physically. Like I think I'm gonna
so-
die.
All right, so this is like a brief aside. I was at Busch Gardens last week because I was in Florida with my sister and one of my kids, and
The favorite one.
Busch Gardens in Tampa, they've got some roller coasters there. I probably hadn't been on a roller coaster in 20 years.
I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid it's gonna like break my old man back.
So I went on this one. It's not open yet. It opens March 11th. It's called Iron Gwazi. Iron Gwazi. I was scared shitless. Like it was literally the most scared I've been in my life. And it was one of these things. We got there at 10 in the morning.
Yeah,
That's when
because
the
you
park opened.
understand mortality now in a way we didn't when we were kids.
Well, so we got there at 10 in the morning. I'm like, I was like, my sister's Maddie. I was like, Mad, I think I should get on this coaster if the line's not too long. And so no one was there yet because we were there. So I was like, we had just walked in, and I'm like, let me just go. I needed like a warm up. I needed like anything other. This
Warm
thing,
up.
you're straight inverted, it goes to like 80 miles an hour. It's like thrashing
Dude.
you around.
It's the thrashing that's my concern, because like I spend an enormous amount of brain power trying to just keep my neck and my back and my hips in working fashion on a daily basis. So like the idea that I'm going to voluntarily go to a thing that's just going to thrash me around, you have no control once you're on that thing. Like it's too much of a risk.
And you're like strapped in. Like they do strap you in, and it's not
It's
like
too
I was
much of
worried
a
was gonna
risk. I have a
fall out.
job and like I got to do things. I got to pick things up.
It was
and
very
do things.
terrifying.
Yeah.
There's just one quick story. There's a King's Dominion outside of Richmond. There was a Wayne's World themed section of the park, and there was a roller coaster, a wooden coaster called whole
I
section.
love that. It's amazing.
It is, and there was a roller coaster called the Hurler, which was like specifically intentionally designed to make you like jostle, and it fucking hurt, dude. Like your body, Eric, I would not recommend for you.
You know what I was obsessed with as a kid was the Gravitron. It was called different things in different places, but where you stick
So the
to the
Gravitron
walls.
was the one ride. I wasn't on it, but I was with a group of people, and someone threw up on
Wait,
the
what is
and
it?
like
It's
the
a thing
one
that
just, like,
spins and you
around
stick
really
to the
fast.
walls
Where you
and then they
stand
go
up
up.
straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
If someone
yeah.
throws up in that, it's like just
Oh,
everywhere.
So
you know?
gross.
disgusting.
No,
Yeah.
never ever.
So like they love it because like the spaceship door goes down and then like they come off. I can like picture it clear. Like they can just
core
come
memory
in.
for sure.
Yeah.
My problem is I get really car sick. Like I get super motion sick, but I love roller coasters. And so I used to go on them and then I would just like take a break afterwards. And I would always take medication before I went on. But I had been waiting years for my niece to finally get old enough and tall enough to be able to go on a roller coaster with me. She used to live in Missouri, and they have this roller coaster there where it's one of those ones where it straps you in and your legs dangle. And then it goes through like a
I've never been on one of
corkscrew
those.
with you.
Mhm.
Suspension. It's the best.
Yes. So I went on one of those, and it had been a number of years since I had been on a roller coaster, and I got so sick. I could not walk upright. I got
God.
so dizzy, and I felt like I had the flu for the next like 6 hours. It was the craziest thing. I'm like, damn it, I guess I'm never doing that again.
No, that's how I was. Like, I literally, because I used to love going on roller coasters, and I was like there. I went on another one by myself later that was less aggressive. I just like I said, I needed an aperitif. I needed like something to like get me in the roller coaster like frame of mind, because I went from 0 to like Iron Gwazi,
80,
and it
truly.
scared the
You know
shit
what
out of
you know
me.
what I
Like, was like,
refuse
oh my
what
God.
I've never done in my life. I've always refused to do is that carnival ride that's just the swings that go out. Like
I love the
yeah.
swings.
Oh, the swings are the best.
if you get on those things, you are taking your fucking life into your own hands.
There's
I'm
always
sorry.
kids that are like kicking their legs, and I'm like, don't fucking kick
That
me.
is terrifying because all I can picture in my head is every one of those things breaking off and just flying across the park. That's all I can
You
see.
wouldn't die. I
New
don't think
Final
you would die.
Destination. You go
You
up really
wouldn't-
high in some of
You
them.
do
though.
go high.
That's your
but-
bar, John. You wouldn't die.
I mean, you definitely there'd be a lot of broken.
If
bones.
you landed on your neck,
You could
would
be
die.
maimed.
That's true. You're right. You could.
You could lose your legs. I just not.
I
Slap your
love
head.
swings though.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are so fun.
Eric, you can write a short story, Final Destination 7, whatever we're on.
Has that not been in a final? Wasn't there a carnival Final Destination movie or theme park or something?
There was a roller coaster. I think it
Yeah,
was
there was a
3,
roller
2
Yeah,
or
I
3.
never
It was
saw that
3,
one.
yeah.
All right, good question.
But that's it for tweets.
Good
Great question.
All right. Let's see. We got some. My phone's gonna die. Let's see if we can make it happen. How cool are the Addams Family, and can we expect an episode on Hellbender?
It's so good, you guys. It's so good. Caitlin, have you seen it yet?
I have been told that I must.
You must see it. There's so much good monstrous, feminine, and an interesting way in which they menstruate.
Oh.
I'll just leave it at
very
that.
intrigued.
But
Caitlin-
on the More Deadly podcast that I'm on, we interviewed the whole family.
Nice.
They're
They're like
amazing.
it's like a family troupe of filmmakers. I saw their
Yeah.
I watched their first movie with Elizabeth. Maybe their first. I don't know. The one where he hits her like it's a hidden.
The deeper
run.
you dig.
I
Yeah.
didn't- I wasn't like a big fan, but I find the whole like family troupe thing interesting. Caitlin, what's the show? It's like The Men I've Tolerated or something. What's that called?
To all the men I've
To All
tolerated
the Men I've
before.
Tolerated. Elizabeth was just on an episode of theirs reviewing this one that they're referencing. And it was a really good episode, so people should check it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
and,
came on More Deadly to talk about it too.
And our buddy Joe Ferry did a really long form interview, which is posted on bloodygoodhorror.com with the Addams Family.
Yeah, you're right, Ariel. It was More Deadly.
I
She
thought
was
you
on
guys
that
were
show.
talking about-
She was on that show for something else. I'm sorry.
I thought you guys were talking about the movie The Addams Family, which my kids watch a lot.
Oh,
And-
I full on thought they were. I thought this was a 2-part unrelated question about the Addams Family.
No, the filmmakers are called The Addams
The Addams
Family. I guess.
Family.
Which
yeah.
is
Just one D,
hilarious.
though, just one
Because
D,
I
not two.
definitely
yeah.
answered. I definitely answered with my opinion on the Addams Family, which is hilarious.
Eric.
Which
I
is
love
don't
The
like it.
Addams Family, and this movie, whatever.
My
Yeah,
opinion is I don't.
It's like new. Like, does it count as a
It's on
2022?
Shudder, I think, right?
Yeah, it just came out
Okay.
Yeah,
on
I
the
think.
24th, I think, of last
Yeah,
month.
it was a festival circuit movie for a while.
Yeah.
All right.
Question.
I'm here for it.
Question for all you smarties: what's one's favorite book at the moment?
I just finished reading. I've been reading a fair bit. I've read this book called The Traitor and the Spy, which let me see, Traitor and the Spy, Ben McIntyre. This is like, I think it was a bestseller in like 2018, 2019. It's a nonfiction story about a Russian spy living in the UK. Just fabulous. Like he had like remarkable access to the principal characters. He like did all this like original reporting. Ben McIntyre writes a lot about Russian espionage, very topical and relevant right now. The book's great. It's like a John le Carré novel, if that's your bag, but it's like real. It's 100% true. So very cool.
I love it. Anyone else?
I'm reading Plain Bad Heroines right now by Emily Bennett. It's really good.
Wow.
It's about, it's basically about this school, an all-girls school that some girls sort of mysteriously die at, and then in the future they're making a movie about it, and so it goes back and forth in time as they're sort of making a horror movie about this school.
That sounds
Very Yellow
interesting.
Jackets. I dig it.
Yeah.
I just moved, John. I'm not reading right now. I'm in between readings.
Is that what we're going with? That's
I'm putting furniture together, John. I don't have time to read.
you're looking at IKEA catalog or IKEA
Amazon
furniture descriptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What horror franchise would you most want Del Toro to direct?
So I have it's not a franchise, but there's a bunch of the old Karloff Lugosi stuff that like now having seen this, I'm like, why like he could work magic with those. I'm thinking like Invisible Man, I think that's them. Black Cat. There's like a handful. Oh yeah, Invisible Man. You're right. That's Carl? Is it both of them?
Yeah, well, it's I think so. Well, no,
Yeah.
it doesn't have both of them in it, I don't think.
Well, in any event, so like Black Cat, there
Oh, Black
like-
Cat, that could be really cool.
it's like the Shrinking Ray, or there's something Ray. In any event, there's a bunch of those like old classic, Universal era. Any of those could work. Like, I don't know.
Hasn't he also talked about wanting to do what was it, some H.P. Lovecraft movie he's been wanting to make for years?
Yeah, it's at the Mountains of Madness. It's called.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, that would
yeah.
be amazing. I mean, I know that's not a franchise,
But
but that would be amazing.
I would love to see him do a sequel to In the Mouth of Madness, John, because that was a
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that's like a top 10 for me all time Carpenter.
it's
Just
incredible. Yeah.
yeah, I love that movie.
But to see Del Toro use some of that Oscar money to like make a crazy Lovecraft sequel to a Carpenter movie, like, all right, let's do it.
I mean, this is where it's like he has made like a couple of these in a row now. It's like, hey, bro, like everyone respects you. Go make some cool
Let's get back to
shit.
some
And,
weird.
like,
I feel like
yeah,
Crimson Peak was in some way that, and then, but I mean, The Shape of Water was very much a passion project. Like nobody gave him money for that, thinking it was gonna win an Oscar. Like, all right,
it did win Best
It
Picture.
did,
didn't it?
but I'm just like, nobody was like, dude, they were like, dude, just go make your like fish fucking movie. and
That
get out of
movie
here.
was also really fucking weird. So
Yeah.
I salute it like 100%.
That's what I'm saying. Like he is to some degree picking unique projects. This is probably less so that than other stuff he's done recently.
Yeah, just come up with some original stuff. Like, don't chase the remakes. Like, let's do something real crazy.
I mean, he has such an amazing eye. It would be really interesting to see him team up with like a really, like, what could somebody like Del Toro do with a script by Jordan Peele, or like,
Or even like
he has such an incredible style and command of filmmaking. It would be interesting to see that filter through someone else's like writing lens.
John, what if Guillermo Del Toro got together with Ryan Murphy for season 13 of American Horror Story?
What if it's a sequel to the clown one?
we'd like Caitlin would be calling out of work for like 6 months. I'm sorry, guys. I can't move.
What was the horror story? The thing that just came out where there were like one-off episodes.
American
a regular
Horror
season
Stories.
dropped, but they also had American Horror Stories.
So
which is
that
like
one,
little-
I watched one episode of that, and like the first 20 minutes, it's like pretty straight up genre, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, like whatever. By the end of it, I was like, what the hell is this? Like, what even is this? I don't know.
That's right.
No, I'm not into it. I don't like it. All right. Am I not depressed enough? Should I watch this again and abandon all hope? Same reaction.
Yeah,
Do a
Same.
triple feature of this, Hereditary, and Midsummer, and just get
Oof.
like real fucked up.
that would be brutal.
Kate Blanchett, strangely sexy or just straight up sexy?
Straight up.
I
Yeah,
would-
straight up.
I would
Yeah.
say straight up. She does have an intense look, I guess I would say. But yeah,
She's not for the weak.
Intensely
she's perfect.
sexy?
She's
I don't know.
perfect.
Yeah.
She's
Probably.
perfect for this movie. Good question from our friend Brian. Alien or Aliens? The classic question, Schnars.
This
Ooh,
is
that's a hard
like
one.
I love both,
It's
but I think I'm
honestly
gonna
the
go
hardest.
with Aliens. I really
I was
like.
gonna go Alien.
Here's what I
yeah.
love. That I have a very lizard brain early life memory of seeing aliens at like my grandparents' camp. Like it was one of those things where like we were staying there for the weekend. This is in upstate New York, John, and they let my brother rent it when they shouldn't have. Like I was probably like 5 or some shit. I don't even know, but I remember like I have this real monkey brain memory of the queen, the like alien queen at that age, and being like, "What the fuck is this?" I also am fascinated by the concept of just waking up hundreds of years in the future. I find that super fascinating. So that aspect of it is pretty cool. The first one's amazing. The first one's amazing, but
yeah, I mean they're both so good. It's really hard.
I think I'm just might be an early Cameron fan because I would take T2 over the original Terminator as well.
He made both of them, you know.
That's
right?
what I'm
Like,
saying.
so,
I'm saying I think I might just be into that vibe from that era.
Yeah, I don't know. I would go 1. But that's like one of those like you got to put a gun to my head to make me make
It's a trick question,
pick.
John. Only one of those movies has Paul Reiser, so there's only one answer. I'm mad about you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what that means. This question is just for Ariel, apparently. Maybe Kaylin, did you see the original movie? I can't remember.
Yeah, I've seen the shot over shot.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
this question is for Caitlin and Ariel. Do you think this was a good remake?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. It adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm also 100% fine with like remaking stuff from the 40s that 99.9% of people have never heard of.
John, I'm not watching some shit from the 40s. I'm sorry. Like
No,
I am that person.
It's just like totally, it's a different animal than like remaking a movie from like even 30 years ago that's like beloved, you know, or something like that. So.
Love it.
Yeah.
That was actually the last question, John. I forgot to warn you. Are you gonna be okay? It's been months since you got on me about that. Since I forgot to warn you.
It's all right.
Caitlin, you know what we were going to talk about was bloodygoodhorror.com. It's alive and kicking.
It is thriving, and I want to give a big shout out to Mr. John Shelton for all the work he's putting in and coordinating these, screeners, and it's just been a lot of fun. Joe Ferry has been contributing a lot. Our buddy Adam has been contributing quite a bit. Jason has been doing a lot of reviews. There's a really cool collaborative piece that just went up on the site. It's like reviewing songs from horror movies, like it's called 8 Memorable Songs from Horror Movies, and sort of reviewing the bands and the songs. But yeah, the site is full. It's good. I've got my interview with Ruth Paxton on there. It's got a lot of good stuff.
Love it. bloodygoodhorror.com. Also check out patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You can we've had multiple people who will like join Patreon and be like, wow, you guys really weren't joking about Schnarz's hair. No, we're not. And you should be looking at it every week like I am. It gives me life. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. You can get a live streaming version of the show every week. You can also get access to our Slack and some other goodies, the back catalog. So check that out and help support BGH today. Thank you to everyone that supports us. Ariel, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you and all of your smart brain opinions and feelings.
Oh, you're so
brought to the
nice.
table today. It made us sound very smart, so thank you. That's going to do it for our episode on Nightmare Alley. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Can I do Casey's? Bye-bye.
Nice.